How did Qatar manage the FIFA World Cup? The story of how a tiny country like Qatar came to hold its FIFA World Cup is nothing short of a wonder. As the World Cup gets underway in Qatar, many people are wondering how it happened that a tiny Gulf country with little history in football ended up hosting the premier competition in the sport. That's right, Qatar had never participated in a World Cup competition before, let alone host it. It took 12 whole years for the nation to host its first World Cup, during which time Qatar's hosting role sparked debate both within and outside of the footballing world. Let's take an in-depth look into the FIFA World Cup of 2022. Against all odds, Qatar is one of the smallest sovereign republics in the world, with less than 12,000 square kilometers, or roughly twice the area of Delaware. But here's the thing, Qatar is extremely wealthy. The Gulf country has the highest GDP per capita on the planet, according to a Forbes survey from earlier this year. It's a nation that's flush with oil money, and the Doha skyline resembles something from the Jetsons. The Qataris have some considerable power to exercise, so naturally, they flex their muscles to win the right to host the FIFA World Cup in 2022. How? We'll tell you. Back in 2010, Qatar was chosen as the 2022 World Cup host, beating out proposals from the US, South Korea, Japan, and Australia. FIFA raised various issues during the bidding process, which presented challenges. These included the absence of infrastructure and the region's extreme summer heat when World Cup competitions are often conducted. Although some sources even refer to Qatar's proposal as high risk, it still won with 14 votes to the United States' 8 in the final round of voting. As the first Middle Eastern nation to host the tournament, Qatar pledged to make the globe proud of the Middle East, and Sepp Blatter, the president of FIFA at the time, applauded the idea of the sport's premier event traveling to new lands. In order to be ready for the 2022 event, Qatar, a country with a population of 3 million people, has made massive investments in its football infrastructure. But there are still concerns over how Qatar was selected to host the World Cup in the first place. The U.S. Department of Justice recently claimed that bribes were taken by high-ranking officials during the selection of Russia and Qatar as the tournament hosts for the 2018 and 2022 events. Although we don't know the exact sum, according to reports, Qatar used somewhat around $200 billion towards the 2022 World Cup, making it the most expensive World Cup in history. In contrast, Australia only invested $42.7 million in its effort, while the US spent less than $5 million. In its 2018 bid, England committed $24 million to the process, a sum that was roundly criticized as being extravagant. The price paid. For the Games, Qatar built 7 stadiums from scratch. But building the Games' infrastructure took a heavy toll on human life. Human Rights Watch estimates that migrants make about 95% of the labor in the nation. They primarily come from South Asia and Africa and labor for low pay in the construction and service sectors. As construction workers for the event struggled in the sweltering heat for pitiful pay, Qatar was the object of international criticism. Since preparations began 12 years ago, hundreds, according to human rights organizations, have died or sustained grave injuries. Despite labor changes in 2014, Amnesty's 48-page Reality Check 2021 study stated that widespread abuses like withholding wages and charging employees to move jobs remained prevalent. The 2022 World Cup host country's government refuted claims in the report that thousands of migrant workers were being detained and exploited, saying instead that Qatar's labor system was still under development. Amnesty and other rights organizations have led calls for FIFA to set aside $440 million, equal to the World Cup prize money, as compensation for migrant workers who were subjected to human rights violations in Qatar. FIFA has been pressured by the football associations of 10 European countries, notably Germany and England, to act to strengthen the rights of migrant workers in Qatar. FIFA wrote to World Cup teams pleading with them to concentrate on the football in Qatar and not allow the game to be pulled into ideological or political conflicts. The world of elite athletics is notoriously shady, so the full details of what took place might never be revealed. The leaders of Qatar and the 1.3 million spectators expected at the World Cup will be hoping that as the matches begin, the conversation will shift to issues on the field rather than off it. ensure the success of the event, Qatar has lavishly invested money on the construction of 7 stadiums, an upgraded airport, and numerous hotels. This goes to show that money talks, and football is no different. Opening ceremony. The tens of thousands in attendance and the billions watching online were astounded by the 30-minute opening ceremony. The ceremony, which was narrated in the soulful voice of Morgan Freeman and featured Jungkook from the Korean supergroup BTS, highlighted football's capacity to bring people from various backgrounds together while showcasing Qatari culture and legacy. 8 unique elements made up the celebration, which culminated with enormous jerseys representing all 32 competing nations, every FIFA World Cup mascot, including the Laib from Qatar 2022, and an enormous inflatable logo. One yellow-gloved hand was extended by Oscar-winning actor Morgan Freeman to a FIFA World Cup ambassador who had a rare spinal disease in a gesture intended to symbolize inclusion in a nation that was being criticized internationally for its human rights record. All in all, the opening ceremony, which was intended to be a joyful and modern one-of-a-kind extravaganza with a significant unifying message, was nothing short of amazing. A World Cup full of upsets? There have been numerous narratives during the World Cup. The upsets, though, have been the biggest highlight. On the field, there's already been a lot of action and drama, including an increasing number of draws, some lopsided scores, and an absurd amount of stoppage time at the end of games. While those 3 patterns are unsettling for the game, the unexpected outcomes have been a welcome addition. The tone was set by Saudi Arabia's unexpected 2-1 victory over Argentina last week. It has to be one of the tournament's top 3 surprises. Even supporters of Lionel Messi had to smile when they saw these Saudi players and their supporters celebrate after the final whistle. Following that, Japan defeated 4-time World Cup champion Germany 2-1. After losing their opening game to Spain 7-0, Costa Rica went on to defeat Japan 1-0. Sunday saw Belgium, a contender in recent tournaments and the third-place team in 2010, fall to Tunisia 2-0. Since the Korea vs. Japan 2002 edition, we haven't experienced this many upsets, and we're expecting many more. You can't deny that the tournament is more exciting and unpredictable when upsets happen, right? It's so much fun for the great majority of viewers who are impartial. Qatar 2022 serves as evidence that exciting soccer and surprises can coexist. So yes, this is a tournament that's so unpredictable, and we love that. Also, it shows how far the rest of the world has advanced in comparison to the powerful Europeans and South Americans. In the future, the World Cup will only continue to expand. 32 teams are competing in Qatar's event, which is twice as many as in the 1970s. 48 will participate in the 2026 competition, which will be hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. More money will go to the 211 national football federations throughout the world, and as for now, World Cup bids for 2030 are already in the planning stages. Drawing comparisons. Despite all the controversies and extravaganza surrounding Qatar's World Cup, experts will tell you that this isn't the worst or even the best World Cup of all time. If we talk about the popular favorite, it has to be Spain's World Cup in 1982. This World Cup had more of everything than any other in recent memory. Star power was out of this world, with Brazil's Socrates, Zico, and Falcao leading the way, Italy's Paolo Rossi dominating, France's Michel Platini guiding them to the semifinals, and Diego Maradona making his debut with 2 goals and a red card. A number of outstanding teams also captured the public's attention, but after much dramatic climaxes, Italy took the cup. And as for the worst, we can't not talk about Uruguay hosting the first ever World Cup in 1930. Let's just say it wasn't such a great start. Coming back to 2022, there's still a lot in store for this year's tournament, but now you know what went behind the scenes to make it happen. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you next time.